Before you move money, pay off debt, or make a large cash deposit while you're applying for a loan, talk to your lender first. Because in lending, having the money and being able to document where the money came from can be two very different things. Let me give you a real example. Earlier in my career, when I worked in mortgage lending, we had a borrower whose debt-to-income ratio was too high to qualify. One option was to pay off some of her debt to reduce her monthly obligations. So she did. She paid off approximately $20,000 of debt. Sounds great, right? There was just one problem. She used cash she had been keeping at home, what some people call mattress money. When she provided documentation showing that the debt had been paid off, we also needed to document the funds she used to pay it. But because she had used physical cash that she'd been keeping at home, there wasn't a paper trail showing where that $20,000 came from. And because we couldn't source the funds, we couldn't treat that payoff the way she expected for purposes of qualifying. She ultimately had to use approximately another $20,000 of traceable funds to pay down a different debt. So she had paid off around $20,000 and still had to come up with another roughly $20,000 to accomplish what she was trying to do. Now you might be thinking, but if it was her money, why did the lender care where it came from? Because lenders aren't always just trying to verify that money exists. They may also need to verify where that money came from. Think about it from the lender's perspective. Let's say you have a $20,000 debt with a $600 monthly payment. You pay it off, and now that $600 payment is gone. That could help you qualify for a loan. But what if you borrowed $20,000 somewhere else to pay it off? You may have eliminated one debt, but you've potentially created another one. If the lender can't determine where the payoff money came from, they may not be able to verify that you didn't simply replace one obligation with another. There can also be compliance, fraud prevention, and other requirements that affect how lenders verify funds. That's why the paper trail matters. And this doesn't just apply to paying off debt. You might encounter source of funds questions when you're making a down payment, contributing money toward a business purchase, providing an equity injection, bringing money to closing, or when a large or unusual deposit appears in your bank account. For example, let's say your lender needs you to contribute $100,000 toward a business acquisition. Your bank statement shows $100,000. But $75,000 of it appeared in your account 2 weeks ago. The lender may ask, where did that $75,000 come from? Maybe it came from another bank account you own. Maybe you sold an investment. Maybe you sold an asset. Maybe someone gave you the money. Or maybe you borrowed it. Those are very different sources from an underwriting perspective, so the lender may ask for documentation that allows them to follow the money. And simply depositing cash into your bank account doesn't necessarily solve the problem. If you deposit $20,000 of cash you've been keeping at home, your bank statement may prove that $20,000 was deposited, but it doesn't necessarily prove where that $20,000 originally came from. So here's the big takeaway. If you're in the middle of applying for a loan and you're planning to move a large amount of money, make a large deposit, pay off debt, or use funds toward your required contribution, ask your lender what documentation they will need before you move or spend the money. Don't assume a receipt, a paid-in-full letter, or seeing the money in your bank account will automatically be enough. Your lender may need to follow the paper trail all the way back to the source, and requirements can vary significantly depending on the lender, loan program, transaction, and source of the funds. So remember, in lending, it's not always enough to have the money. Sometimes you also have to be able to show where it came from. The information in this video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, tax, or lending advice. Lending and documentation requirements vary by lender, loan program, transaction, and individual circumstances. Always confirm specific requirements with your lender before moving, depositing, or spending funds during the lending process.